Welcome back to another exciting episode of AutoKnerd. I am your host, Andrew Sardone, and today we are taking a closer look at one of the most underrated superpowers in all of sales, the power of listening. In the world where everyone seems to be shouting to be heard, those who listen stand out in the best way possible. So here's what I would like you to do. I want you to think about the last time that you truly felt listened to. Not just heard, but actually listened to. How did that make you feel? Probably respected, probably valued, understood, right? So now I want you to imagine how the customer would feel in this situation, because your average customer is running around out there. They're shopping 2 to 3 stores, and they're talking to sales consultants that on average are kind of only thinking about themselves. And this is a massively huge problem, because in the business of customer service, which is what we're doing, we don't matter. The customer does. The customer matters 100% to us. Their feelings, their emotional state, all of it matter significantly to the gross profit that we're going to get out of that deal, right? Sales isn't about convincing someone to simply just buy the vehicle. It's about understanding their unique situations and guiding them through that situation to something that's going to make sense to them, right? Our job is to provide that solution. And you can't do that without really deeply listening to them sometimes, right? Customers today have access to endless amounts of information and endless options in order to get that. I mean, seriously, look how many AI bots just hopped online in the past week. It's been insane. So what the customer's looking for, they're not looking for a car. They're not looking for a price. And I will vehemently defend that statement until my death. They're looking for a person. They're looking for somebody that truly cares, right? So this is how trust is built, right? And the foundation of trust is what makes that successful sale. If you can't build the bedrock, you're going to have a lot of trouble going ahead and closing that deal at profit, which leads me back to, it seems to be my catchphrase as of late. Coffee's not for closers, right? Coffee's for the people that are opening up the deal that can afford to buy the good coffee down the street. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to AutoKnerd. Here we go. So listening versus hearing. I sat back for the past week or so, going to meetings, and I heard a lot about engagement, and I heard a lot in meetings last week. By the way, sorry for not posting. It's a little wrapped up about engage, hear people, listen. Now, myself being fairly philosophical, I had to sit down and go, okay, so this is becoming a huge topic, and being an SME in CX is, I kind of have to dive down the rabbit hole in this, because I know listening is an important thing, but how important is it actually? Well, it's everything. And I knew this in going on into it, started doing some superficial research on it. And I was like, why? You've read the books, you've seen all of this, you've spoken to so many people. And when it comes down to it, one of the most underrated skills, bar none, period, is our ability to simply hone in on the person that we're talking to and listen to them. Because when you feel listened to, you feel valued. There's a bond of trust that instantly starts to link its chain together with us. And that's the point, is to get that bond of trust rapidly built in an industry where you can hop on like YouTube. There's podcasts of it. I listened to one the other day that made me just like want to throw up. It's the fact that when people go out and they start researching how to buy cars, they're taught all these tricks and that make our job harder. And when it comes to us, none of us are looking to trick the customer. We have a product, we look to sell it, and we look to go ahead and get the highest profit out of it. It's pretty simple. I got to eat, you want a car. It sounds like a pretty even trade. Just give me the green, I give you a vehicle. Done. So with this, we find far too many sales consultants, though, take a step back from listening. And they go into things like product, process, price. These 3 Ps, if wielded incorrectly, will just decimate your deal. The reason is the product's not the reason why the customer's going to buy. Yes, it gets them in the door. I understand that. And I have people all the time reach out to me and they're like, well, they buy on product and price only. No, they don't. You're concentrating on product and price, and you're losing money like crazy if you're concentrating on just those 2 things. Because with all of this, the term engagement has popped up so many times in recommendations for me to go ahead and do a podcast on that I've looked at it and I've been like, I don't really want to do engagement. And the reason that I don't want to do engagement is because it's such a simple thing, but it's something that we have to talk about. It's like listening, right? My personal definition of engagement is taking emotion and setting it into motion, right? And so you learn what the customer's emotional state is and you roll with it, right? And that gets them engaged. So listening allows us to dig deeper into topics. It allows us to uncover the customer's potential problems, pitfalls, and usually the solution that you're trying to solve. Because very rarely is it that somebody's coming in, going and buying a car and going, well, I just simply want to buy a car. No, nobody says that. Nobody goes ahead and says, hey, you know what? I'm going to go into a dealership, torture myself today, and go ahead and buy a car. It's not something that they do. You may have some people like, just go get one off. I want to go buy a Lamborghini today. They walk into the dealership, talk to somebody, throw a bunch of cash down, buy a Lamborghini. I get that. I've met those people, and it's always pretty funny hearing them talk about this stuff. But the superpower here is taking that information and actually hearing what they're saying, because hearing is a passive thing, right? Hearing is just simply the act of perceiving sound, but you got to let it get to the ears in the first place. And then after that, we got to digest that information and listen to what we're actually hearing to, because it's about focusing our full attention on the speaker, right? Understanding the words that are coming out of their mouth and and interpreting them in their meaning, because how we hear things sometimes and what's actually going on in the world tend to be two completely different things. And so, when take a look at our media and take a look at our politics, you'll see you understand what I'm saying. And so listening means picking up on the emotions behind those words. Listening for, those little frustrations that crack in their voice, right? The excitement, the hesitation, the cadence of how they speak. And when you're working with somebody and you figure out that, hey, wait, this is what clicks with them. This is the motor that's inside of them that gets them to get in the door, that got them here. This is the problem they have. And here's the positive way that I can solve it. All of a sudden, that customer looks at you as a useful resource. You are the person that they will buy a car for. But if they walk into a dealership and they talk to the regular NPC, if you don't know, that's non-player character. I'm calling a lot of people that as of late, where they walk into a dealership and you talk to a bot, essentially, that's programmed to go, well, here's the car. And, yes, you want a sporty thing. Here is a sports car. Come to find out that when you walked in and said you wanted a sporty vehicle, this person went ahead and just assumed that you wanted the sportiest thing that's out there, or you just wanted something with great fuel efficiency, right? So with this, where there are some little rules, guidelines that I've always used for conversation with customers that help us out a whole lot. Because if emotions are what will set the whole stage of getting a better paycheck, that will set in motion the ability for the customer to give themselves permission to say yes, well, if listening is where that trust is built, where the bedrock foundational items for our sale is going to be introduced, I better have that buttoned up. So here we go. So I'm going to share a story with you real quick. And here it is, a very, very quick one here. Salesperson learned that a customer is looking for a cheap car, was actually prioritizing reliability for their daughter going to college, right? Now, as this person's going on and on and on about how they need an inexpensive vehicle, sales consultant kind of tuned right out. And I watched this whole thing play out. And as I'm watching this, I noticed that this person all of a sudden picked up their phone, started sending text messages. And I'm just standing away, and I'm hoping, beyond hope, that this sales consultant can button things up. And next thing you know, they're going to go ahead and knock this customer's socks off. And here comes the whole emotional walkthrough on it. And that never happened. Emotions are kind of an icky thing. It's something that many of us have been told, hey, no, you don't need to do that. Don't dig into emotion. Why would you go ahead and do that? Well, here's the rub on it. Emotion is the biggest trigger to get somebody to say yes. It's the reason why we go buy things. It's what makes us happy, right? You wouldn't have that Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch. You wouldn't have that big iPad. You wouldn't have that massive television if there wasn't an emotion attached to it, right? You wouldn't go out and start playing, doing your hobbies or hanging out with your buddies if there wasn't an emotion attached to it, okay? And that emotion is, well, quite honestly, it's happiness. And as we drive closer to figuring out what makes that customer tick and where that happiness area is, all of a sudden we find that customer turns into a buyer really fast. And it's because they start to trust us. And remember, the more you can get somebody to speak about the things that emotionally charge them in a positive manner. The closer you get to that deal, the quicker trust is built, and the quicker they give themselves permission to simply say yes. Now, with this particular individual, they went ahead and did eventually buy the car. It had to go through a TO here. But what happened was the manager came out and they sat down with this customer and they said, hey, you know what? My kid's in college too. And I understand things might get a little tough here. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions. And the manager started to go through and get the customer engaged, started talking about their life, how many miles they drove a day, what the average week looked like for them, how much running around they do with their kid, and then also how much running around their kid's going to do. And what they stumbled upon was, wait, kid's going to be driving a lot, going back and forth from school. It's a few hundred miles, about 4 hours of drive, every single weekend. That's a lot of mileage. And the manager eventually went ahead and looked at the customer and said, why are you buying your daughter a car? Let's make your daughter one of those popular people on campus, make her think like she has wealthy parents. How about we just lease her a vehicle for 3 years? And she's going to be well under our basic mileage here. And in 3 years, she can pick her own darn car when she has an awesome job. How's that sound? And the guy went ahead and said, yeah, you know what? I don't really want to be paying for this thing forever. If she loves her car, she can buy it at the end. Sir, I think we finally figured it out. Let's get your daughter a car that she's absolutely going to love. And they ended up going out and finding the fully loaded electric vehicle, leasing it at a great rate. And the daughter, come to find out, she had charging stations right in her parking lot. But that sales consultant almost lost that deal simply because they did dumb little things. Things like tuning out, checking their watch all the time, not taking notes, playing on their computer. Things like this get customers to step back. If the carrying quotient starts to diminish, the customer leaving quotient increases. So when it comes down to effective listening, we got to get some barriers out of the way, right? Thinking about your response to the customer ahead of time while they're talking isn't going to help you. Let the customer finish what they're saying. Now, this is an Achilles heel of mine too. I don't do it with customers, but I surely do it with everybody else in my life, and it drives me nuts, is that somebody that's talking, and I already have that answer formulated, and I'm ready to throw it at them. Well, it alienates people. It ticks them off, and it makes them feel like you don't care, even if it is the correct answer. You didn't let them finish, right? So, also, interrupting to make a point, and also to correct a misconception that they may have said. Back to this point that I made a long time ago. You don't have to be right about everything. The customer doesn't have to be right about everything. When it comes down to being right, I would much rather have somebody in front of me that is super happy leaving with a vehicle than having every single little statistic that they rattled off about their research be corrected and insulted to the point where they go ahead and they look at me like I'm the jerk. Right? So as the customer's throwing things out there, we have no reason to slaughter their research, hurt their research in any way, because all that's doing is pushing them back. You can ask them all day long, hey, what's your research? Well, I was looking at this and I found out that this little sport compact here has like 390 horsepower. It doesn't, it's like 200. But you know what? I really want to take it for a drive. Cool. Let's go for a drive. Wow. This thing's really quick. How much horsepower does it have? It has 204. Oh, well, I read it was 390. Okay, cool. Cool. Are you enjoying driving it? I love driving this thing. Good. That's what matters. You're not correcting them. You're not insulting them. They asked you a question. You answered it with the correct answer. If they want to believe it has nearly 400 horsepower, let them believe it has 400 horsepower. Who cares? In the end, super happy smile on their face. And if they learn the information later on, you can tell them, I gave you the right answer, right? But interrupting them and correcting every single little thing that comes out of their mouth, people don't want to deal with that. You don't want to deal with that. Don't make your customers do it. So with this, the next barrier that pops up here, multitasking during conversation, which is the exact reason why this kid almost lost this deal. You see, if you're multitasking, it happens. I understand. I've been 5 customers deep, running around like, chicken with my head cut off, and just trying to go ahead and figure out, where to go next with while juggling 5 deals. But if you're talking to somebody and you've realized, hey, you know what? I got to have these conversations. It can't be out on the lot. I can't pumpkin patch with this customer and have them pick out their own car, which will always be the most expensive one. Come on in, take a seat. And as soon as the customer sits down, it's time to start carrying on that awesome conversation. And as far as this goes, take the watch, put it on Do Not Disturb. Heck, even with your phone, as you turn around and the customer is following you back into the dealership, take your phone, pop it on Do Not Disturb, pop it on Working a Deal. Maybe set that as one of your focuses. So when your watch goes off, you know it's critically important and that you actually do need to look at it, right? So for example, I'd have my wife on there and that'd probably be about it. So when it comes to this, set your expectations for the conversation, which means you got to set that stage, which also means you got to eliminate distracting points. If you get a notification on your computer, ignore it. If you get a notification on your phone, ignore it. If your manager's screaming for you from across the room, well, if you're a manager out there, don't do it. Just let that person finish their conversation. And then when the sales consultant comes your way, then get them. That piece of paperwork that you needed 3 deals ago, print it out yourself. Don't mean to be that guy and tell you that, but there's far too many times that as management, we've gone ahead and said, hey, I need this, when it's right there. But this isn't to rag on managers at all. The point is that when we're dealing with the customer, you got to focus in wholly on them. They are the reason why we exist in the first place. If customer experience with them falters and they feel that you are not locked into them 100% because you're looking at your watch every 5 seconds and they feel like they are, keeping you from something, they're just going to go away. And that's kind of sad because that was money right there, right? Most people, when they walk into dealerships now, they're coming into dealerships to buy cars. I know that sounds kind of like a blanket statement and very obvious, but if they are coming into a dealership inquiring about a car, they built the guts up to walk through the front door. I've heard it. We call them strokes half the time. And if you got somebody there and you're like, well, they're here just stroking me, hold the phone. If they're sitting at your desk for more than 15 minutes and you're carrying on a conversation, they're there to buy a car. If you think you're there stroking you, it's probably because you have a bad attitude and you got to get rid of that. Listen to my podcast, The Great Reset, give yourself a personal vacation or afternoon vacation, whatever it might be to get your head back in line. But when people come in, they're shopping for somebody that can respect them, that can give them the ability to go ahead and say yes to buying a car. Because the items that damage trust the quickest is the fact when the customer picks up on the fact that we are not listening, it makes them feel like they're just another number. You don't like it, so don't make the customer feel that way, right? Also, when trust erodes, they may walk out feeling just frustrated, right? Even if this is a product that is absolutely perfect for them. Also, keep in mind, you're not the only place they can buy. They can go anywhere. And when it comes to your store is special as most owners feel that their store is and how unique and how different it is. Y'all buy the cars for the same money. Y'all can sell the cars for the same money. There's nothing special about that. What is special is the person I am connecting with. That, again, is the number one reason why people buy and also the number one reason why people don't buy. So when it comes to listening, practical steps for this, body language is always a big one, right? Open body language, right? Comfortable eye contact. Pay attention to those verbal cues. Pay attention to your own verbal cues as well, right? Know how the words are coming across as you start to speak them. In addition to that, eliminate frustrations, right? And distractions. Take those things, set them to the side. The customer doesn't care about your frustrations, but distractions will make them incredibly frustrated of the person that they're working with. So take those frustrations, take those distractions, put them aside, right? Your only thing in your life right now is that customer that's in front of you. Because without that customer, you're not getting a paycheck. It's pretty simple. Then, when you're talking to the customer, mirror and clarify what they're saying. Now, I'm not talking about paraphrase absolutely everything back to them and getting into the area of mansplaining. That's not cool. People don't like it. But if the customer goes ahead and says something, about fuel efficiency or something along those lines, summarize that. Confirm to the customer that, hey, I understand you. I get you, right? So you're looking for a more fuel efficient car with enough space for you and your family. Is that correct? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I am. The last sales consultant didn't get that. I said sporty. They showed me a 2-seater. Oh, really? Yeah, here. How many people you got in your household? Well, I have 17 people. Well, I got a great cargo van out there that is very performance savvy. That engine came right out of an F1 car. Did it really? Well, probably with the amount of weight that you need to carry. But the thing is this, it's very sporty, right? That's the point here. Is that by paraphrasing it back, you're doing something that the average consultant doesn't really afford themselves the ability to do. right? Is to get the customer to understand that, hey, I'm in this game for you, because if I'm not in this game for you, I'm not even in it for me at this point, right? And then we also have to listen for those underlying emotions, the things that the customer says that we can pull out and set into motion. Because keep in mind, getting a customer to be engaged, or anybody to be engaged, the definition that I use for engagement is putting emotion into motion. So once I find that emotion, start having a conversation with it, right? Get the customer to speak to it. What's that all about? So your kids excite you. Why is that? Drag it out of them. Get them to speak about their successes. Get them to speak about their life. Try to stay away from negative stuff, right? Any feeling that can be drummed up that might be negative, your customer's going to want to run away from. They're going to go, oh, heck no, I'm not dealing with that today. Right? You've heard people go, not today, Satan. And so with that sort of thing, push it to the side. Negative stuff, we don't need to deal with that. You are here to purchase a vehicle, and there are underlying emotional reasons that are going to drive you to buy it. What are those? Well, I need a bigger car for my family. All right, cool. It seems like the car you're driving is plenty big enough right now. What's the change? Well, I want the family to go ahead and be happier inside. Everybody's got digital devices. They want to be able to plug them on in. And so as they're telling you this, start writing things down. All right, so I need power ports inside. I got to show them those. This family dog. Yeah, you do. Oh, big dog. Oh, whoa, really big dog. I'm going to jot that down. I'm going to create a presentation around that. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You really want the kids to be comfortable. Okay, so you want ventilated seats in the second row. Bougie. Okay, got it for you. So then that's primarily to keep your kids comfortable. Oh, yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm finding that thread, that map on the road to the sale that exists inside the customer's mind. And as they start to give it to me and I'm jotting it down, in my head, I'm going, okay, this car will work, this car will work, this car will work, and here's how I can present this based on these things. Because the physical items on the car just create that wow factor of, oh, hey, look at that. But knowing how it's going to improve your life dramatically changes how that conversation is going to come across. Now I have a customer that is invested in the process. They've gone ahead, they've told me things. They're now trusting me with this information. And now I'm going to take this information and I'm going to wield it in such a way that when I look at the customer, I can go, hey, listen, I'm going to give you everything that I can to offer a positive transformational change in your life. Is that cool for you? If the customer goes, oh, yeah, absolutely. Cool. Here's your life. Here's what you told me. Is that all make sense? Yeah, it does. Okay, cool. Let's go grab a car real quick. And so you go ahead, you pull around a vehicle and you start selling it based on them, right? Now, another one here before I get into like walk around type stuff. Listen for those underlying emotions. I know I just kind of said that a little bit, but look at the customer. Pay attention to those nonverbal cues. Are they smiling, like genuinely smiling? If not, well, you got to branch up the fun factor a little bit. Look at their tone, their pauses, right? The hesitations that they have in their voice. And if they hesitate, don't jump right on in, right? Pause before responding, right? Give them a nice chunk of time to see that, hey, I'm actually thinking about what you said. And when I open my mouth again, it's going to be about you. It's not going to be about me. It's not going to be about the car. It's not going to be about the price. It's not going to be about my dealership. It's going to be about you and the information that you provided me. Because I want to take that roadmap that you have inside of your head and I want to apply it to my road to the sale. But I want to make sure that I bring you along in a comfortable manner. Because if you don't know what step that I'm going to next, well, that's going to kill my profit as well. And it's going to kill my likeliness that we're going to make a deal here. Because if you're not ready for me to go ahead and give you a walk around, if you're not ready for me to give you a test drive, if I don't have the proper information, I could grab the wrong car. We could be so far out of book where price is now an issue where it's just unattainable to you. I don't want to do that. So as far as this, just pause for a second. Once the customer is done speaking, give them a moment. They'll realize what you're doing and then paraphrase or ask them another question that's based on their information. And they'll know that, hey, you know what, this person, I'm engaged, right? They are somebody that is listening to me. They are going to help me improve my life. This is the person that I want to work with. Next thing you know, when you start making recommendations on vehicles, the car goes out the window. So here's an example, another example here. Customer sitting down in front of you, and this is a very easy one to just kind of wrap your brain around. The customer comes in, they sit down in front of you, and every manufacturer has that point in time where people were worried about the reliability, and I can list thousands of them for nearly every brand. So the customer comes in, they sit down in front of you, and they go, hey, you know what, when it comes down to reliability, I'm really worried about this, right? You know, on the test drive, I mentioned a couple things, heard a couple weird noises that didn't quite sound like my car that I've had broken in for like the past 5 years. You know, I'm just not... I don't know. Reliability is kind of a big thing. So with this, if the customer is concerned about reliability and maintenance long-term on the vehicle, then it might be worth going ahead and saying, hey, you know what? I have this package right here that I can apply to this car. Extra little bit of insurance, right? To take care of all those maintenance fees for you. Oh, really? Yeah. It's awesome. You can go to our dealership. You can go to many other dealerships, and as long as they process the paperwork, yeah, we'll take care of it for you. It's not a big deal, and no money out of pocket for you. You just gotta buy the package. Oh, and who sells that to me? Well, actually, my F&I manager right there. So you teed up the F&I manager, and now the F&I manager is going to go ahead and be happier for you, look at you in a better light, and who knows, it might be a little bit easier to get a deal process here and there. But with all of this, the statistics show pretty glaringly that customers that feel listened to are twice as likely to make a purchase and recommend you or the business to others. Well, if that's the case, I got to treat everybody well, right? If they come in, show genuine kindness, show them your love for humanity, show them the fact that, hey, when you're working with me, I'm going to make darn sure that you're going to get a vehicle that's going to work great for you, not just good, not just okay, but great for you. And the reason is that in the back of my head, I'm telling myself, because come negotiation, I want to go ahead and show you the payment and have you go, yep, that works, and move along, because I'm here to make money. I'm here to totally go ahead and fill my bank account. But I'm also here to go ahead and spread the happiness of you being able to get into a vehicle that you thought that you couldn't pull off in the first place. Well, I'm going to show you how you can do it, right? But it all comes down to the fact that I got to know who you are and where your emotional state is, right? So this week, I am going to give you some homework. In order to improve, you got to do a little bit of your own heavy lifting here. So I challenge you. The challenge this week is pretty easy. I want you to focus on your listening skills. I think that sounds pretty obvious here. So in your next sales conversation, ask open-ended questions and paraphrase the customer's responses, right? Or if you are in a sales meeting and you're a manager, do this. Get everybody together. All right, count off 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1's you're the customer, 2's you're the sales consultant. Turn, talk to each other. Okay, you got the car part out of the way. What does that person stand for? Right? Actually listen. Who are they? And as you're going ahead and you're listening to this stuff, get those open-ended questions rolling. All right. And as those open-ended questions are rolling off the tip of your tongue, get those answers back. Figure out where your friend or colleague or maybe customer has that emotional thread. And as soon as you feel it, ask questions about that thing. And as you ask questions about that thing, trust now starts to go way up, because now the conversation from the customer starts to get personal. And as it gets more and more personal, well, they start to trust you more and more and more. It's just super cool thing. So you might be surprised how much this particular behavior of just listening to the customer and getting them to speak for you to build the roadmap out is going to change the whole dynamic of how you actually do your sales process. So, but with all of that, I'd love to hear from all of you. So if you have stories about how listening impacted your sales, how it went ahead and completely changed your game, how when you slowed down after hearing me say it, and you stopped pumpkin patching your customers out on the lot, having them select whatever vehicle they want, like a 5-year-old at a pumpkin patch at Halloween, and you started to do real deal needs assessment, have a conversation up front, do yourself a favor. Open up the podcast episode, type me a review. How'd it go? Or look me up on my Facebook page, or go ahead and find me on my LinkedIn page. Doesn't matter. Leave me a review. How did this help you? Now, in addition to that, next podcast is going to be all about how genuine kindness boosts closing rates. Yeah, we're going to ride this wave for a little bit here. And the reason for this is there's far too much negativity in the world right now. And if we can all spread some kindness to those customers out there that think that we're the worst people on the planet, we're going to win the day and we're going to make some coin. So as far as that goes, mash that subscribe button if you're fairly new to the channel. Hit share as well if you have the ability. Share this with another sales consultant on your showroom floor, because not for nothing, we're all brothers and sisters from different mothers and fathers that want to go ahead and succeed. If we can succeed as a group, we have the ability to just dominate the industry, right? So as far as that goes, share it if you can, but definitely subscribe, please, please, please. Now, aside from that, let's see, in the news, not a whole heck of a lot was going on. I know with their new administration, there's a lot going on there, and the EPA just had itself gutted. But as far as that goes, I'm just kind of sitting back here eating popcorn right now, watching the whole industry as everybody is like, yay, this is great, or oh my gosh, it's burning. All I can tell you is this. Try to be rational about what you are reading right now. Try to look at it from both sides of the coin as, okay, so this is going to be terrible this way, but it could be really good this way, and try to ride that wave however you may feel it. Aside from that, have a great one out there. I will see you all next week. Spread that kindness, show customers that it can be easy to go ahead and buy these cars, and I'll talk to y'all fairly soon. Bye.